Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Voice of Houston right here at Urban Houston Network and TV with myself, Dr. Clara Brent, and also Dr. Bobby Mills as the co-host. Don't want you to forget now that to download our free app, UHN-TV, as well as on Roku, you can go and put in Urban Houston Network, and we will come up as UHN-TV. You have a chance to be with us twice or on several devices. Now, don't forget that voting is coming up. Early voting has started. Don't forget to go and early vote, because most of the time we don't even know where we are supposed to be voting in the first place. So if you want to find out where you are going to vote, go to onevote2022.com. That's onevote2022.com. Now, please go vote, you all. It's important. Let's don't wait for the presidential election. We need to get everything straight with our governors and our representatives in the state as well as in the nation. Now, Bobby, how's everything been going with you?
Well, I'm blessed in the Lord and highly favored.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, because we're alive. and look here, we're above and not below. We're doing well.
Yeah. As the saying go, God has blessed us to see another day.
That's right.
To see another day.
To have a portion of health and strength and owe a little bit to folk. Not a whole lot, but we do owe some people.
Yeah, we do. I don't think we ever get through paying each other the debts.
No, you're not going.
Well,
the devil ain't going to ever. The devil and the devil's system is not going to ever let you get through paying.
I heard that. That's about true, too. Of course, we would love to eliminate the devil one of these days.
You can't eliminate him because he's a spirit.
Oh, well, it's going to happen. It will happen. That's what God said. It would happen. But just think about our voting now. The GOP is doing something that they think they're going to win at with Trump as the president, and also the ones that are running for state governors and senators and representatives. That's where we're coming in to vote here in Texas. Do you think the GOP is going to win just because they
can win with their white privilege agenda? Because let's face facts, 73 plus million individuals in America voted for Donald Trump. Now, we all know that Donald Trump was the worst president
that we've ever had.
The country has ever had in modern times.
Overlooking all the others that
we'll
before him.
In modern times. And we know that he probably was the most ungodly president that we have ever had, because he showed little God conscience in terms of the policies and procedures that he pushed legislatively. So the GOP can win because, like I said, Dr. Brent, when you get 73 plus million individuals
that will go and vote. Now, the problem is that those that should be voting, they sit back and not vote, thinking that this is not important. This is the state, but the state is more important than it is for the country. So we want to be sure we get the right people in the right place at the right time.
You got a gubernatorial election.
Yes,
coming up in the fall.
Right, and so now we're going with the senators of the state, and as well as the representatives.
Right.
And
well, there are no senators, U.S. senators on the ballot this year. Ted Cruz will come up in 2024 for a re-election.
Yeah.
But he probably will, at the same time, seek the presidency. But we know...
I would love to see him and Trump go against each other again. That's neither here nor there. But the most important part is that we want to make sure that we go out and vote, so that we can get the right people with the right minds and mindset for the people of this country, not just a secular people, one group of people, but all of the people of the United States. We're going to go to the public schools. Public schools seem to me, getting further and further behind in educating our students. When I say that, that's because they've set up a system that they are failing. Not only are they failing with with the system that has been set up, they are also failing in getting together and loving one another and caring for each other, and not teaching that one particular group of, whether your skin is black or white, does not have anything to do with your intelligence. And that's where we need to stop with the public schools. The public schools have been a blessing to the United States. It's just some things that needs to be changed. And those changes are not being made. Everybody's saying everything is good, everything is good. Not necessarily the parents and not necessarily the students. They're listening, and not necessarily the teachers. It's mostly the legislators who are changing the laws and that know nothing about teaching. Put them up in front of a group of students and tell them to teach what they know, and it would be hard for them to do so. So why are you going into the classroom telling a teacher how they're supposed to be teaching? Or taking a book that someone has written a doctorate paper on, dissertation, and decided that that this book is really good. We ought to promote this in our education. That's not the way to do. If anything, you get the people that are being with those students each and every day, what they need, what they need to do. That's where you come in with inclusiveness. There is no inclusiveness by bringing in teachers. Your teachers need to be the ones to help decide what should and how students should be taught. Not somebody coming in here talking about something new, something great, something grand. The new part is that they can have their technical learning through technology. That's the computer, sure. But you also need guidance. You also need someone to encourage you, someone to teach you your abilities and how to use them. That's not being done, to my observation, for the public school.
Well, I think really what you're saying, a lot of that is true. But the deeper spiritual, moral problem that we have in education starts in the home. The first school is the home. And because the family structure in American society has all but collapsed in many instances, especially in the black community, you have children who have not been properly educated, so to speak, in the world in terms of how you get along with others, because they have not been educated in the Lord. They don't understand spiritual principles, spiritual values.
Well, wouldn't you say the same thing about white children?
Right. Well,
they're putting down these children every day. They're putting them down every day, telling them
Dr. Brent, that
black children killing themselves because of what others are saying about them in the school.
We understand that it's a spiritual moral problem that is universal.
Mm-hmm.
We understand, but we're talking specifically about our community and what's going on with our children, because the majority of children who are failing in our public schools are black and brown. The majority of the children who are failing in our public schools are black and brown, and the schools are located in black and brown communities. So the point I was trying to get to in terms of education is that back when you and I were coming along, you had people who had been trained to be teachers, and they had student teaching, and that was a love of a discipline and a career. But now what you have is a lot of people who did not go to be trained for teachers going into public school teaching.
So should we start pushing legislators to put those things that were taken out of the school system for learning back in? Could we not do that? Could we
one
not
of the things that we need
push
to put
for
back in is the first thing that need to come back in is some spiritual prayer need to be brought back.
Prayer needs to be brought back into the school
system. When prayer
system
was taken out, the devil came in.
And he enjoying himself too.
He enjoying himself running up and down the hall.
Enjoying himself up a breathe.
And so now, the point I was trying to make, and you know, it's not to try to put down.
But the schools are becoming more separate, though, isn't it? The schools are becoming more separated, more black in the black area and the brown area, black and brown, and then more white in the white. But hey,
neighborhood school concept. That's all it is.
That's good.
And
but
so
I don't
black
see
people tend to live in neighborhoods that are predominantly black.
Then whites.
And whites live in neighborhoods that. So consequently, you have residential segregation. So you're going to have school segregation. But that's deliberate.
Yes, I understand that's deliberate. So since it's deliberate, then we should bring back what we deliberately need to have back. That is prayer in the school, first of all. The second thing is that teachers should be trained before they are put in a classroom coming from another career. That's for sure. And then more emphasis should be put on inviting young people to be teachers who want to be teachers, not for a necessity, but want to be a teacher and get paid.
Not going to teaching for money.
Yeah, and not for, for money.
But going to get paid because you love children and you love the life of the mind.
And then get paid for their expertise. Right. Because it's you got to be a different kind of person to be a teacher. A different kind of person with a different heart, a different mind.
You have to be a person that loves children.
Of course. Yes, that's for sure. And show that love.
Right.
You can love a child, but it's hard to show that love if that child is not yours. That's the issue. The point of the matter,
or if the child is undisciplined and unruly, coming from home.
However, when you look at it, in fact, when we were growing up, as you had said, when we were growing up, teachers were the second father, the second mother for us in a way from home.
Not the second, they were just the extended.
Well, then you want to say extended. You want to say second and extended either way, because I've seen teachers when I was growing up combed hair, bought clothes, shoes,
and they lived in your community,
and lived in the community too, and they cared, and they were the second one. They enhanced the discipline, they enhanced the love, they enhanced the growth of that child. Now they want to treat the child as if that child is an adult, and it's not. I don't care what anyone says, psychiatrists, doctors, whomever. Listen to God.
Now teaching has really become a paycheck system. That's the problem.
Train up a child in the way it should go. Right. And if you train that child from home to school and get that child ready for the world that they're going to have to
live in.
Thank you. And have to be competitive in. The world is competitive. And they have to learn how to be competitive and look at themselves as who I am, not what you think I am. And that's where I think that's the public school not pushing the right way. They're putting too much emphasis on this particular man-made test that is designed for failure. Give the teachers a chance to do the testing. Make a test for the teachers like it was before. I don't think they would do anything no worse than it was already has been done.
Well,
and they put labels on these children, and then the child is not learning.
It's not the test, because you have to have.
Yes, the test determines. I don't think the test should not determine who you are and what you be doing.
But Dr. Brent, let's be honest now. You have to have a way to evaluate.
No, the teacher is the way to evaluate. Because that's the one that's teaching.
What kind of instrument will the teacher use to evaluate?
But see, testing is not in that state of being or mind or enhanced to.
So you don't think
to measure where the student is and where the student ought to be, but to measure whether you not are, to measure that you will not go further if you don't pass this test. That's wrong. It's a lot of people can't pass tests.
Well,
it's a lot of people get on it. It's a lot of children you can give them an oral test and they pass it 100%. Put it over there on paper, it's not there. That's what I'm saying. You do not need to have a test that's going to determine your future.
But
no.
Dr. Brent.
I don't agree.
The educational system from kindergarten to 12th grade is a step process.
I'm not
One
saying
level
that.
builds upon the next level. Am I not correct?
I'm not. Yes, and I'm not
it's
saying
a step
that.
process.
I'm not
In
saying
the first
that.
grade, you learn certain skills.
Of course, but I'm not saying that.
That prepares you to be able to function at the second grade level.
Not
and so
saying
on, and so on, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So how then do you suggest that the system or teachers measure whether or not you learn the skills at the first grade level that you should have learned, or the skills at the second grade level that you should have learned? How do you propose that they measure that?
The same way that they measured it when we were growing up. Their test, what they taught, what was necessity for you to learn and be a successful person. That's what I'm speaking of. Not for no company to come in, or psychiatrists or anybody else to come in and make up tests that are not designed for you to learn or have learned anything, but designed for you to fail, because there are tricky adults even the ones that's the legislators can't even hardly pass that test, even by reading it, and then the way they have it structured. That is wrong. You structure a test according to what you have been taught, and then then that test should show that whether whether you've learned it or not. Then it can be taught again. That's what a test is for, not to determine who you're going to be or what you're going to be and how you're going to be it. That's wrong.
I don't think
a test like in Texas should not even exist. The STAR should not exist if it's not going to help that child.
So you don't think you should have any kind of measurement?
The teacher
instrument
should. I'm not saying that.
In public education.
I'm not saying that, sir. I'm saying this, Doc, is that.
Well, now what you're saying,
let the teacher do it. Let the teacher do it. Let the teacher determine how that child is learning.
Instruction in a classroom setting should be individualized, but you got to have some universal instrument.
Oh, no, you don't.
By which?
No, you don't, because we didn't have it then. We didn't have no instrument to determine whether we were going to be, you were going to be a doctor in psychiatry. I didn't determine whether I was going.
But you had certain essential skills that teachers knew they had to teach you at every level.
Exactly, and that's
whether you were in the first grade, second grade, third grade, or
that's reading, math.
Right, you had
and sociology,
right,
or whatever you want to call it, history. That was something that we had to know, and that was something that we had to learn. But however, that is not determining if you know how to divide, subtract, and multiply. Do you know how to do your algebra? Divide, subtract, and multiply. It's all a basic thing. However, it should not be written or stated that it will be confusing to that child to take that test.
Well,
that's what I'm saying. Determine whether that child knows how to multiply, subtract, divide, do algebra, not trigonometry,
Well,
just algebra, and fix it so that that child can determine that child can be successful and not a failure. And a test should not decide whether a child should pass or fail. It's only to show.
I think tests, they're not deciding.
Oh yes, it is.
Universally, whether you fail or pass.
Yes, it does.
I think the test is trying. A test is trying to get to whether or not you have an understanding of certain essential skills.
That's what we would love for it to do.
Well,
that's what we would love for it to do. But it's not doing that. It's determining whether you pass or fail, and that's not right. Tests should not be passed or failed. A test should be determined whether you're learning what you ought to learn and you have not.
You're saying that in education they should scrap all testing. No
I didn't say that. I said scrap the test that is being done now, made by a company that's getting money for nothing. That teachers should be doing in the first place.
That in a classroom setting,
you're teaching the test. Why you want to teach a test?
It's up to a teacher.
Teach life.
It's up to a teacher to learn how to individualize instruction. That's the teacher's responsibility.
Oh yes, it is
to individualize the instruction.
And exactly right. And she makes that, and he makes that test. She makes that test to determine whether that child has learned what he or she has been taught. And if he has not learned what he has been taught, then it is brought back again
to reteach.
To reteach. Thank you. Not to fail. Not to pass or fail.
But that's the teacher's responsibility to reteach.
Yeah.
If the kid has not learned, but you're not getting me.
You're not getting me. The point of the matter is, it is for the teacher to determine. Definitely, it is for the teacher to determine to reteach and pass that student according to what that child has learned. Not pass that student according to what that test is supposed to put out there that the child should have learned. That is wrong. You don't do that.
Well,
no one should determine a child's ability as they grow up. No, no test should do that.
You know that evaluation.
You know they did that in early times of slavery.
Well, evaluation.
They said that the child,
no matter what
that
you do,
we were ignorant.
Where you go, you will be evaluated.
We were ignorant. We were ignorant simply because we hadn't been taught, but we were ignorant when they passed the test or put the test out there. We were so ignorant, and we didn't know anything, and that we were lower than they were, and all of that other bull cone. And now we have a modern one doing the same identical thing, saying our children are stupid and ignorant and don't know anything. That is wrong. We're being taught the same thing that everyone else is taught. And I guarantee you, if you put a child that is white and a child that is black, and they've been taught the same thing, and put that test out there with them, and see which one we're going to pass.
Well, Dr. Brent,
see whether both of them are going to fail, tell the truth.
I think
that's what's going to happen.
The issue is a little bit more complicated.
Oh, no, it's no more than that, bro.
Yeah, you know what you're trying to make it, Dr. Brent, because you live in a society that is scientifically, technologically oriented. And there are levels of empiricism that exist, whether we want to accept it or not.
Well, why would you make a test be a superiorism?
No.
Yeah, that's where we're going. That's where we're going.
There are empirical ways that people evaluate people all the time, regardless of what profession you're in.
A color, mostly.
Well, you know, I'm not going to say that color is not a factor in the way America operates and the way the society is organized. But we can't use color as an excuse either.
I don't see whether we could use it as
we can't use
blacks have never used color as an excuse.
You cannot.
We've
use
never
color,
used it.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's where we come a mighty long ways
to be mediocre.
And we caught up. We did catch up. Now we being put behind again. So that's pitiful
let
from
me
the
ask you
time
this.
of the ending of slavery up until now. We going backwards instead of going forward. That doesn't make any sense.
Dr. Brent, do you think that as a community, as blacks, as black families, as black churches, and black institutions in general, do you think we have a responsibility in our own development and for our own behaviors?
We have a responsibility, of course. Wouldn't take that. I wouldn't say it wouldn't be. We have a responsibility for our own neighbors, and we have a responsibility for our own courses and whatever else, wherever we are headed in this stage. However, we got to stop leaving our communities, though.
So why?
That's the issue. Once you get your good old education and your good old doctorate degree and your good old this, and your money start flying in better, we start moving out of our own community. We move out. We go where the other folks are going. Why we want to be with them? Why we can't stay in our own community, show our own children that with those that of us have done better, have made better. We don't have to sell drugs to ride in a Cadillac. We don't have to do all these other. We don't have to be stealing to ride in a whatever other car there is.
You don't have to ride in a Cadillac. You can ride in a Volkswagen.
But the issue is that we can show them, those of us who have made it through this system of inferiority. We made it through this system, and since we made it through this system, we ought to be in our communities, showing our children that you can make it too. You can stand up and be counted as an intelligent human being, one that can do what others can do, and not be put down because of how you look or how you grow, how your hair is combed or whatever. It is decided because of the brain that you have. And we are not, as people of color, as they want to call us. I say blacks because there's a lot of colors in the United States. So, but as people, as black people, we ought to be in our communities. Our doctors ought to be in our communities. Our lawyers ought to be in our community. Our teachers, our boys that hold doctorate degrees ought to be in our community. I know we, at one time, all of us wanted to do just like the white man did. I want to have a big house. I want to have a nice car. I'm going to get my good education. I'm going to push forward, and I'm going to make sure that I can be an asset to this country. And we did it, but we left. Answer to your question is that we have to return, and we have to show our students and our children not to leave your community, but build it. Put your money where it ought to be. Put your faith where it ought to be. Put your work ethics where it ought to be. And build where you can help your community. I can't help my community out of my community. I don't live there. So I can't help my children. I can't help my children. They can't see me going to the store. They can't see me riding in my car. They can't see me going to church. They don't see me. They can't see me do that out of the community. But in the community, they can see me do that. And it might not even matter to me in doing so, but it matters to them. It matters to them. And you might say that it's not enough. It is enough if we as black adults that have children that don't have children, especially us that are senior citizens who God has blessed, ought to be in our communities, showing our children.
Well, Dr. Brent, what you can do then is you can start a program of grandmothers going back to elementary schools and
That's a good idea.
and-
That's a
and-
very good idea.
And being involved in classrooms and
That's a very good
function
idea.
as stewardess and
And you too.
model.
And you can
Yeah,
do the
yeah,
same too.
Yeah.
All right, just not only me, but
Yeah,
you
right.
too, because you have the
We can.
you have a digital what you call that, the computer that it
Yeah.
teaches our young children how to
Right. Read and
comprehend and everything.
By 5.
Yeah, and would it be nice for you to walk into the
Yes. we
and they
do
sit
that.
there and see you showing them what would happen? But so far so good. We want to go that we do know that we cannot depend on the white man nor woman. We're going to have to start depending on ourselves again, and that's where
And
we
the
are.
God force that's in it.
And so of course we want to put God in this thing, because there ain't nobody but God that has helped us all these years, 400 and some years in the United States, and some have left, some have come back, and most of us have stayed. So and you can't tell me to go where I came from, because I don't really know where I came from, but it's here. So
Well, you know you came from the continent of Africa.
but where in the continent of Africa?
Yeah.
That's the issue. God is our only answer. That's what they say.
We've
think
come
that?
to the end, Dr. Brent.
Oh, really? I got that. How about that? We talked too much on that one, did we, y'all? But I want you to know that we love you. God loves you too. And we look forward to seeing you again. Be sure to put your paper, keep it in the car and not outside of the car. Take care.